one of the most common misconceptions is like whenever you are selling to someone, like it's kind of like you feel desperate or you feel like you absolutely need them to close a client. Like, what do you feel or what do you say to women that feel that way when it comes to sales in their business?
Welcome to the Side Hustler Podcast, the podcast for women building their dreams while balancing work, family, and all the things. I'm your host, Carly LeBlanc, a wife, mom, marketer, and your side hustling friend here to teach you how to grow a brand that works for you and not the other way around. Whether you're a side hustling pro or just starting out, this is your safe place for real talk, actionable strategies, and the encouragement you need to keep going. We're here to help you make progress and not perfection. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's build your dream one step at a time. Hello, and welcome back to the Side Hustler Podcast. I'm your host, Carly LeBlanc, and I'm so excited to have you here because today we are going to be talking about sales, how to do it, how to make it sound natural, how to make it sound authentic, and how to not be so salesy. Today's guest is my friend Marshawn Hargrave, who is the founder of High Vibe Cowork and the host of the High Vibe Table Talks podcast. She has built a creative business model, and I wanted her to come onto the podcast so we can really talk through it together. So, in this episode, we are going to be diving into why so many of us feel that cringy feeling when it comes to sales and the mindset shift that Marshawn uses to keep showing up even without the ick. We're also going to take a deep dive into her actual sales funnel that starts with her weekly virtual co-working sessions, and we're going to discuss how she builds her email list through her podcast, through her community, and then how she also flows it right into her digital course. We're going to see exactly how she connects the dots and turns her amazing community into clients. We're also going to learn how to prospect and follow up consistently without feeling desperate, and how to use data points instead of doubt when it comes to sales, when it comes to something that's not converting. And lastly, we're also going to talk about setting boundaries, working through seasons, and being what she calls a relaxed entrepreneur. So her business supports her life and not the other way around. So if you ever thought, I want to be able to sell like an expert, but I don't want to sound salesy, I don't want to be annoying, then this episode is going to be just for you. So grab your notebook and let's dive into today's episode. Before we dive into today's episode, I have something special for all of my side hustlers out there. Are you building a business while working a 9 to 5 and you're tired of wasting time on marketing strategies that don't actually move the needle? Then you're going to want to get plugged into my weekly newsletter. Every single week, I'm giving you the real behind the scenes scoop on what's actually working in marketing and business. No fluff, no gatekeeping, just real strategies, insights I'm testing in my own business, and practical tips that you can apply right away. If you want to work smarter and not harder and finally start seeing momentum, then head over to cdcreativecoagency.com/newsletter and get locked in. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. All right. Hello, Marshawn, and welcome to the Side Hustler Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat today.
Yes, I'm super excited to have you here because we connected a while ago actually on Threads, and I love being able to have women that are just thriving in business on the podcast to kind of just like give us insight on what's working in business, how are you marketing your business, what are some things that you're seeing, success with. And so I'm super excited for today's conversation because I know it's going to be super, super impactful. But for those that are not familiar with you and your brand, how about you give us a quick intro and then kind of just take us from the beginning and what inspired you to start High Vibe Cowork?
Yeah, awesome. So my name's Marshawn Hargrave. I'm in Rochester, New York. So about an hour from Buffalo. And I have a virtual community for women entrepreneurs. I host co-working every week virtually, so on Zoom. And I also have a podcast as well. And then I have a sales course where I help women who feel really empowered by what they have to offer have more conversations with people so you can make an income and an impact. I think that as women in society, we have a lot of friction around selling, around money, around being successful, about saying that we want to make a lot of money and be successful, feeling pushy in the sales process. And that was me in previous sales positions. And so I really kind of dove into the psychology of selling, about the whole process, really became a student of a sales funnel and just the numbers game of it. And so I decided that what I want to do is help more women just have more conversations. One of the kind of like key pieces of it that I kind of combined was the virtual co-working and the course. So you get the education in the course and you get the application of, hey, we're all going to be in front of our computer every week doing the sales work together. Like we were talking before we got on here about being in the trenches of motherhood. Like we're in the trenches of selling and prospecting and putting ourselves out there together.
Yeah, no, that's so on point because I feel like even for a lot of people that I come across, like my clients, a lot of people had this like, cringe feeling when it comes to selling. Like people are like, I don't want to sound salesy. I want to be on socials. I have a business. I want, clients, but I don't want to sound salesy. Or, they just feel uncomfortable with selling because for some reason, as women, we feel uncomfortable talking about money. And so I absolutely love your premise and your mission to what's made you start your business because I definitely feel like it's needed in the marketplace. I don't know why, women, we struggle with sales so hard. I don't know, but I really, really want to talk about that because I think that one of the most common misconceptions is like whenever you are selling to someone, like it's kind of like you feel desperate or you feel like you absolutely need them to close a client. Like, what do you feel or what do you say to women that feel that way when it comes to sales in their business?
Mm-hmm. There's two quotes that I say a lot. And the first one is that people can't buy what they don't know is out there. So if people don't know what you have to offer, how are they supposed to buy it?
Yeah.
And second is that sales is a service to your calling. Like I feel very called to help other women in their business create more sales, build a business that supports their life and doesn't take over their life. There are all these ways that I want women to make more money, to support their family, support themselves, their dreams, the causes they care about. And in order to do that, they have to know what I have to offer. And like that is me being of service to those people. Like I can't help those people if I don't put myself and what I have to offer out there. So it's definitely very common. And so just kind of keeping those two quotes in my back pocket, because even as someone who goes out and teaches sales, I sit down to prospect and I'm like, I could be doing the dishes, or like they're going to think I'm weird, or they're going to hate me, or no one's going to buy what I have to offer. Like the first part of my sales course is all about the mindset piece of it because it's something that we all struggle with.
Yeah.
All go through it. And it's you like sales is about consistency and continuing to follow up. And if you're not in the right mindset, it's going to be hard and almost impossible to keep going.
Yeah. No, that's so, so good. So, so good. So now that we kind of gotten the blueprint of sales and your standpoint on it, I kind of want to dive in on your business model because I know that you have such a unique business model, which like when we first chat, I was just like mind blown because I'm like, this is genius. Like, and so I know for a fact that you host your weekly virtual co-working sessions and, to someone from the outside looking in, they're just like, oh, these are just co-working sessions, but no, these are part of your strategy. And so I kind of want to get into like, what made you think of something so unique as hosting virtual co-working sessions as like the top of your funnel? And then how do you get people to, nurture them throughout your sales process to where like now you can position your sales course as a solution to these people that are attending these virtual co-working sessions?
Yeah, so how my funnel looks currently, I'll kind of go through that a little bit, but I also want to preface by saying it took a lot of fine tuning to get it to where it is
Yeah.
today. Like it took a lot of trial and error. I always say that I'm in my Thomas Edison era of like finding all the ways that it doesn't work before I can find the way that it does. So
Yeah.
how it's set up now is not how it was even 6, 9, 12 months ago. And so how it currently looks is I love Threads. That's where we connected. That
Mm-hmm.
is a social media platform that I use quite a bit, and just connecting, talking about co-working. The virtual co-working that I host is free. And so I have a um, landing page where people put in their email address, and then it sends them the calendar link for the virtual co-working. So now it's in their calendar, and so they can come. It's one of those things that's like, come when you can, leave when you need to. Like, you don't have to be there every week. It's just an open space for people to come.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of my freebie part of my funnel. Now they're on my email list. Now I have a nurturing cadence. They get reminded about the co-working every week. They get links to my podcast every week, and then any deals or specials or information, or promotions that I have on my sales course. Now
Mm-hmm.
they're on my email list to get those. And my business kind of started out of needing a place to show up virtually. So
Mm.
I was craving something, so I created it and then put it out there because I felt like if I needed it, others would too. And so
Yeah.
it just kind of started as a, hey, this is open to anyone who needs it. It was successful, and I said, okay, now how do I streamline this into part of my funnel?
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. That's super brilliant. And so from the beginning, because you've been in business for a couple of years now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for someone that is, brand new in business, and trying to get their offer out there, trying to get their lead magnet out there, what was some of your marketing strategies that you used early on to get people to know about these co-working sessions, or even before you even started? Because you weren't always doing co-working sessions, were you?
No, it actually started as like an accountability group.
Mm.
And that was really successful. And we would have Monday and Friday meetings kind of
Mm-hmm.
talking about, okay, what are your goals for the week? And then like what are like chunking it out so it's like actionable items.
Yeah.
We'd meet on Friday and say, how did you do? What's the lesson from the week? And let's celebrate you.
Yeah.
And the Wednesday co-working was just kind of the sandwiched in the middle as far as like, okay, here is space that I'm creating for you to get the stuff done that you said you wanted to on Monday,
Yes.
and designated space for it. And that's kind of how it evolved. And I was just asking a lot of questions on social media and finding hashtags and things like that of people in similar spaces and being like, what are they craving? What are they looking for? And that is also how I kind of created the sales course, because it was like, I have these women who care so much about what they have to offer. They like are such heart-centered and
Mm.
like service-focused people, and they can make such a big impact on people, but they're not putting themselves out there enough, and
Yeah.
can't invest in things like coaching or whatever into
Mm-hmm.
their business, or ads, because I know that's been something that you have worked with lately, but they don't have the resources to do so because they're not bringing in enough sales. And so I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So back in the fall, I really pivoted my business and said, sales is something that I've dedicated the past decade to for previous roles. That's how I can make the biggest impact this year on other women entrepreneurs, is by just getting them to feel less friction in the sales process.
Yeah. And I love what you said, because you didn't actually say it, but it was the fact that you found the need in the marketplace. I think when you think about like what women entrepreneurs tend to want the most is more so a sense of community. They want to feel like, they're not the only person that is struggling with whatever it is that they're struggling with in entrepreneurship. A lot of us are first generation entrepreneurs. I know that you come from your dad that's an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But, a lot of us are just like out here in the trenches figuring it out, not having any type of experience or knowledge of how these things are supposed to operate. And so when it comes to the sense of community, like you found that need and used it to your best ability to really like attract people that had that problem that you're solving. So And I tell people this all the time, like, when you think about a lead magnet, like you want it to offer a lot of value to where the person is literally thinking like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is free. Like if this is free, like I can only imagine like what comes with the paid offer. And so if your lead magnet is not conveying that type of feeling or emotion, then it just is a sign that you should tweak something, because people are going to naturally gravitate towards something if they feel like whatever it is that you're offering is solving their problem. I'm reading a book it's called The Six-Figure Side Hustle, and it talks about like how when you're creating a business, you need to make sure that you're creating a painkiller versus a vitamin. And it talks about the difference between the two. Like if you have a headache, you're not going to go take a vitamin. You're going to go take a painkiller, some ibuprofen, Tylenol, all of those things. You're not just going to be like, oh, well, I need to go get some vitamin C. I mean, if that is you, like, no harm, no foul. But most of the people are like, give me the Tylenol, give me the ibuprofen, because this is a haggling headache that I have. And so I think that the way that you position the accountability group and even the virtual co-working sessions is like you're solving a need. You're giving people a sense of community, but you're also giving people a space where they can talk about these problems and work through these problems with other entrepreneurs. And so it allows them to continue to keep coming back. But then while they're continuing to come back, like you're benefiting from it because you're also positioning yourself as an expert in addition to offering that value.
Y'all already know I'm all about working smarter and not harder, especially when it comes to marketing your brand. And if you're still relying only on social media to reach your audience, we need to fix that immediately. Social media is cute, but let's be real. The algorithm is unpredictable and your content is probably only reaching a small percentage of your followers. That's why I swear by email marketing, because when I send an email, I know 100% of my subscribers are getting my messages. And the best part, Flowdesk makes it ridiculously easy. You can send beautiful on-brand emails, automate your sequences, and even create landing pages without needing to be tech savvy. And because you're listening, I got you a deal. Use my code SIDEHUSTLE at checkout and you'll get 50% off your Flowdesk subscription for the next 12 months. So if you're ready to stop relying on algorithms and start building an email list that actually converts, try Flowdesk for free. And don't forget to use the code SIDEHUSTLE at checkout for that exclusive 50% off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so much of that starts with like looking in the mirror. Like, what do I need? What am I struggling with? And then if I found a solution to kill that pain, now can I offer it to others? Because it's like, there's a lot of pain points out there that I can never solve because that's just not who I am. And so it's finding that crossover between what I needed, what I created, what others need, and what I can help them with. And just like, where do those all meet together?
Yes. No, that is so good. And I love how you hit on like you can only solve one problem. Because I feel also like, another thing that I see a lot of people, even myself, like we're so multifaceted to where we're like, we want to solve all the problems the world has. And it's like, what if you could just be the go-to person for one problem and you just be really, really good at solving that problem? You know what I'm saying? Rather than trying to solve problem A, problem B, problem C, and spreading yourself thin, because now you have this business model where nothing's the same for each person that comes into your door. It's like you're offering all kinds of solutions. But if you really honed in and solved one problem, like you identified, people really struggle with sales. Like I'm going to position myself as a solution to teaching people how to sell. Like that is just so, I feel like you have more power when you specialize in something rather than trying to do all of the things.
Yeah, because like, and it's not easy. It's not like, as someone with ADHD and a creative and entrepreneur, I'm always coming up with new ideas. And my idea bucket is very long in my notes app and in my, the Post-its on the wall, whatever.
Yeah.
But someone put it like, when other people are having conversations about business, about life, about whatever, it's like, oh, I really need to go get coffee. Where would you recommend? And someone can immediately think of their favorite coffee shop. I really need to get pictures done. I know someone who does headshots. Let me get you their number. And so it's being known for that one thing makes, I call it like the golden ticket of selling, the referral,
Yes.
so much easier. And that takes away, and that takes a while to build up, but it takes away that whole top part of the funnel.
Yeah.
But you can't be that for someone else if you're not known for that one thing.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. With that, I kind of want to get into like some of the strategies you use for visibility, because I feel like when you're first starting a business, everybody just navigates naturally to Instagram as like the main tool for marketing. And I want to get your insight because I know that we met and we connected on Threads. I wanted to see like how has that helped you with your current business model as far as like getting leads and telling people about your business, but then also like what other platforms or strategies have you tried for visibility as well?
Yeah. And this really goes into like my Thomas Edison era stuff. I've tried a lot of things that did not work.
Yeah.
Or just like didn't create the outcome that I had hoped.
Mm-hmm.
I love Threads. I'm really enjoying that as a platform. And, I love Instagram, but I don't sell a lot on Instagram. Like, as far
Mm-hmm.
as there's not a high conversion rate for me. I
Yeah.
will still show up because I enjoy the platform. But if it's not converting for you, then it's not part of your sales funnel. It's just a social
Yes.
media platform that you enjoy using and connecting with people, which there's nothing wrong with that. You just can't say that it's part of your sales funnel if it's not
Mm-hmm.
converting.
Yeah.
So like I probably should be showing up more on LinkedIn. It's definitely a place where people who are looking for what I offer probably show up. It's not a fun place for me to show up. And so I can't put a ton of stock into it because I just don't enjoy being on it. And so it's really, again, it's finding the places you enjoy showing up where your ideal client also shows up. And like LinkedIn specifically was a place where I did invest a lot of time and found a lot of ideal clients. And I would had a cadence where I would message them and we would start a conversation, and it was really nice. And I'd ask them if we wanted to have a coffee chat. And I ended up having like a ton of coffee chats. And it was great. It was converting really, really well. But after probably 30 or 40, 50 coffee chats, I had 0 sales. So I'm like, okay, so there's some disconnect. Like, I'm converting really well in the number of messages I'm sending out to the number of people who are meeting with me. But the expectation of a coffee chat isn't, hey, you have a need for what I offer. Now we're going to see if it's a good fit. And part of it probably was my presentation, whether it's the expectation ahead of time, expectation at the end, like, hey, I'm just going to send you this email, or is it okay if I add you to my email list where I send my newsletter and, some occasionally a promotional email about my services. Like, there was something in there that didn't work. And so I put a ton of time and energy, but something within the chain was broken. And that's kind of how I got to where I am now with Threads. There's a ton of people on there who are like, I feel like I'm doing this alone, or nobody in my life understands this, what I'm going through. I wish I had a group of people who were in a similar stage of entrepreneurship that I am. I can't get out of my own head when it comes to da 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 da. And so that's where I'm like, hey, I have this free thing. And so those conversations, they feel easy. They're not as forced in the Instagram DMs where most people don't even see it if you're not following them. And so it's just, again, a lot of like trial and error of like what feels good to me, where do I enjoy showing up, and where does my ideal client show up. But I also want to say, like, sales is never 100% comfortable. Like, we can make it like feel like there's less friction. We can get into routine. We can, a lot of times on the calls, I like to take the end result out of it, because you have no control over who says yes, who says no, who answers your DM, who replies to who even opens your email. You have no control over that. The only thing you have a control over is showing up.
Yeah.
Doing the work. And so if we can find success in you showing up and then using the data as information to maybe tweak the process, then you're succeeding, regardless of who says yes, who answers, who doesn't open, any of that stuff. That's, again, it's all data. It's not saying you're good, you're bad, you're horrible at this, your offer sucks. Like, that's a mind game that we all play with ourselves, play in our own head. And if we could just take that out, show up, and have fun with it. Like, it's not that serious, you know?
No, I love that. I love that you are so transparent, because I think that early on when I first started like making my business an official business, like the goal was to get people to book discovery calls, right? And so I was like, okay, how can I get people to book discovery calls? And so one of the things that I found was not really working for me was, one, I didn't have my prices on my website. And so that was basically like capturing a whole bunch of people, right? And so but then I was in that same place where like everybody was booking this discovery call, but then like it wouldn't convert to a paying client, because after I was in the proposal, I don't know if the prices was too high or whatever. So I started to add my starting prices on my website to kind of filter out people. So people know that, you know, this is the starting price. If this is not within your budget, like no harm, no foul. But most people are not going to waste your time if they know that the starting price is not something that they can afford right now. And so that kind of helped me to like streamline my discovery calls or filter out, you know, people that weren't potential people that would actually convert. But even now, like I found myself now getting all of these discovery calls, and some people would convert, but then also like I was getting people that weren't a part of my target demographic. And so like even now, like this is something I'm currently going through right now live. Like I'm like, okay, I have, you know, this person, a person A, person B, person C, person D. They all have different businesses. They all have different, you know, funnels. They all require different types of content strategies. And so it's like I was feeling like I was having to like reinvent the wheel every single time somebody would pay a proposal. Now, although we're great and we're super grateful that, you know, people are paying, but it's like when you feel like you have to learn your process every single time someone books, like something is broken, because it should, you know, it shouldn't feel as exhausting to where it feels like it's your first date every single time you get a paying client. And so I'm even, you know, taking this moment to be transparent. Like, you know, like you said, you're in your Thomas Edison phase. It doesn't stop, you know, like I just celebrated my second year of business last Thursday. And I'm thinking like, okay, I'm very far from where I started, but there's still so much to learn and so many things to change and pivot until you finally find a place to land. But the journey is that you should have fun with the journey. Like it shouldn't be this daunting task. It's like if you are starting a business with your, you know, extra time, like it should be something you enjoy doing. Yeah. And so I even had to tell myself, like, if I'm finding myself getting, you know, this tense feeling or I'm stressed out, like I don't have to be here, you know? This is not the end all be all. Like if you're going to do something with your free time, with your extra time, it should be something that you enjoy, something you're passionate about, but something that drives you to continue to grow and learn and pivot, because it's not just the, you know, I'm just doing this to, you know, do whatever. Like you want to make sure that you actually enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was really like where I found myself in the fall. Like I was running these mastermind groups and they were so cup filling. Like they were incredible, but I was very much like trading my time for money. And in the only way to scale was to create more or bigger groups, or like, and it just felt like this isn't quite it. Even though I was having returning customers, I was having testimonials, like people loved it. It was like, it was incredible. But like I knew for myself 18 months from now, it wasn't going to be what I needed. So I had to let that go to find a way to like sell a course. So that's very much like one to many. And so it's just, you're right that like, you think one day I'll have it all figured out. And like the problems are just different. Like figuring it out just looks different. And that's why like mindset is so key, because instead of like beating yourself up and being like, why haven't I figured this out yet? It's like, I'm learning this lesson again, but like in a different way, in a different time, with a different perspective. And that's beautiful.
Yes, you are right, like right on the money, man. So I kind of want to pivot a little bit, because I know that there's someone that's listening that is a mom. And like you said, we were kind of talking about before we hopped on about like all of the complexities of being a mom. Like right now with my kid having pink eye, and I'm trying to record this episode, he's like in the back making all these noises. And so I want to kind of hit on like, how are you building a business that allows you to show up and be the mom that you want to be? Because I feel like that was more so, the reason why I started my business. I was on a track to become a doctor, and, not randomly, but like randomly, God was just like, yeah, the pathway that you wanted with being a physician isn't going to allow you, the freedom, the flexibility, just the desire of you being able to be the mom that you want to be. It's not going to happen with you chasing this, career path. And so with that, I've created this business, with the hopes of having more flexibility. But I want to kind of get your insight on like, how are you building this business to where you're able to have a thriving business, but also be a very active and like, mom that you want to be?
Yeah. It definitely like changes with the seasons. Like, right now, it took me a long time to get here. As far as like when I had a 9 to 5, I was working, I was managing 2 Pilates studios. And when I accepted that job, it checked a lot of boxes. And I got like a few months into it, and I resented that job so much because it just was like death by 1,000 cuts. Like the boxes it checked were that like I loved the people I worked for. The owners of the studios were incredible. The employees who worked there that I worked with were amazing. I was around people who were moving their bodies, so the endorphins are high. Like they're literally changing lives. This one woman came in and she gained an inch because just doing the Pilates like allowed her to lengthen out, and it just was like a great environment. But then they would call me and be like, yeah, we ran out of toilet paper. And I'm like, as I'm like trying to cook dinner, and I'm like, I just cannot. And so it was just constant things that just piled up that didn't allow me to have space to like breathe and garden. And I coach my daughter's lacrosse team, and I'd be at lacrosse practice getting calls or like, hey, so and so's having an issue with their credit card, and that's not something that like can wait, and it needs to be figured out like faster than let me call you back tomorrow morning when I'm not on a lacrosse field. And
Yeah.
so it just made me analyze the like intensity of some things, and I needed more space. And so like right now I like to say that I'm the relaxed entrepreneur. And so if something has too much urgency to it, then that's not meant for me in my business. And so that's like a boundary that I had to put up. And so anything new that comes in, any client work, any new thing I want to create has to go through the filter of, does this create more urgency than I'm willing to take on at the moment?
Yes.
We just kind of finished the town lacrosse season. So from like April, May into the middle of June is just like fast and furious. And so I had to like record a lot of my podcasts in January, February, March, knowing that's a season that I was going to go through. But I had to go through like the shit show that was last spring. Being like, what is going on? Like, who's going to clean the bathroom? Because I don't have time to do it, and like learn and say, okay, that was a season. And now I'm going to say like, okay, I get the urgent things done earlier in the day, and I close my laptop when I get my daughter off the bus, and then I go and I coach her. And if things don't fit into kind of that time frame, then they're just not meant for me in the season. There's going to be seasons when I have more open space to do other things, but just now is not that season, and that's okay.
Yeah. I love that. And that message was for me. Okay.
Oh.
If you ever are like, I don't know who this is for, it was for me because I totally agree. And I think that goes back to what I was saying before, as far as like, this is something that you're using your recreational time to do. Like, it should be aligned with everything else that you have going on. And so I love that you mentioned boundaries, because I think that that's something that even early on, when you're first trying to just get all these people into the door, you're just like, taking whoever, whatever that's going to give you money. But it's like, if it doesn't align with what you have going on in your personal life, then, maybe that's probably not an opportunity that you should take. Because if it's going to, be this exchange of your time, of your energy, of you being stressed out and can't go to sleep at night, like, is it actually worth it? And so I really appreciate you being transparent and sharing that, and just also being transparent to show, or to tell people that, certain seasons are a little bit more chaotic than others. It's not always going to be that way. Just like you plan ahead for lacrosse season, like, summer times, most of the time people are traveling with their kids. Like, maybe that means that my client load or my client availability isn't the same, but it's not going to always be that way. But I think also, like, when we are building this business, like, we have to think about, who it is that we want to be. Like, what does it look like to be the best version of yourself as a mom, as an entrepreneur, as a wife, or whoever, or whatever else that you do. But then also building that availability, flexibility based off of that, because you're the boss. Like, that's the whole thing. You're the boss here. So you get to make the rules on who you want to work with, how often you want to work, when you want to work, what you want to do to work. And so no one should be telling you or forcing you to run your business in a way that doesn't align with everything else you have going on. And so I don't know who that's for. Maybe it's just for me, but I know someone's listening that's just like, you're right, girl. Like, listen. So I appreciate that. I you have no idea. Like, I really appreciate you kind of just like, honing in and getting me right, because I needed that message for sure.
Yeah. There's so many times where, like, I create content for what the previous version of me needed.
Yes.
Like, and so many entrepreneurs that I work with, they're helping a previous version of themselves, because we have been in that trench and full of mud and, all the things. So
yes, 1,000%. And so this is the confirmation that I feel a lot of people will need, as far as not only sales, but just kind of like looking at your business in totality, and just, taking inventory on your energy levels, on your time spent, and just really, pushing yourself to get to a place where it's at least copacetic. I feel like sales doesn't have to be daunting. Like, you are the boss here. You get to create the type of life that you want to have as an entrepreneur. But then also, like, if you need community, there are people out there that you can meet with, that you can talk with, like Marshawn and her community, to where you're not feeling like you're doing this alone. And so with that, I kind of wanted to give you an opportunity to share where our listeners can connect with you, maybe even grabbing the link to join your co-working sessions, or even where they can go to find support within your space.
Yeah, so for social media, I show up a lot on Threads and Instagram. It's High Vibe Cowork, HIGHVIBECOWORK. And if you go to highvibecowork.com/virtual, you'll learn more about the co-working session. That's where you'll get you put in your email for the link and to get on my email list. And if you go to highvibecowork.com/SPS, that's where you can learn more about my course. And so it's Sales Prospecting Simplified, because it really is spotlighting the prospecting part of the funnel, just having more conversations about what you offer with more people. And so that's my course link, so you can find out more there. We do power hours in the course, so that's kind of like the co-working, but for sales prospecting. Wednesday mornings, 10 a.m., and then the virtual co-working is Wednesdays at noon EST every week.
Yes, I am so excited. I'm so excited. And I'm literally like trying to figure out when I'm going to be able to join one. I feel like every time I think about it, like, I'm always having some meeting pop up last minute on my calendar. But one of these days, I'm definitely going to be able to join. But thank you so much, Marshawn, for hopping on the podcast and sharing and spending your time with us. I absolutely appreciate it. And I know that there's so many people that are listening that are going to find so much value in this episode. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This was really great.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Side Hustler Podcast. I hope you're leaving here today feeling inspired and ready to take your next step. If you love this episode, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another side hustler who needs to hear it. And don't forget to connect with us on Instagram at Carly Dorlin. I'd love to hear about your side hustling journey. Remember, you're doing better than you think, and your dreams are so worth it. Until next time, keep hustling, sis. You got this.